All right, Monarchs, welcome to the second video for lesson 3.2. In the first video, we went over our rules at the top here. We went over solving one-step linear inequalities, and then we did examples number 1 and 2. Now we are on example 3. We have negative 3x is greater than or equal to 18. All right, so just like any other equation, I'm actually going to write this over here so I can have a little more room to solve it. So I have negative 3x is greater than or equal to 18. Okay. I'm going to solve it over here just because there's more room. So I want to draw my line straight down underneath my inequality because I know that I'm going to be doing something to get x by itself, right? Right now, this negative 3 is attached to my x. It's right next to it. And I know that when a number is attached to my variable or it's right next to it, that number is multiplying my variable. So I know the opposite of multiplication. So I know I need to move that. In order to do that, I have to do the opposite. The opposite of multiplication would be division. So I'm going to divide both sides by negative 3. Okay, so negative 3 divided by negative 3 cancels out. I'm just left with x. And 18 divided by negative 3 would be negative 6. Now I have not put my inequality sign down there yet because we need to go check our rule. It says, solving inequalities is similar to solving equations. Remember, when multiplying or dividing by a negative, we flip the inequality. So here we did divide by a negative, right? We divided both sides by negative 3. So this inequality right now is greater than or equal to, but our rule tells us we need to flip it. So instead of pointing this way, it needs to point this way. So my new sign will be less than or equal to negative 6. Okay, so now I have x is less than or equal to negative 6. I switch my signs because we divided by a negative, and that's what my rule tells me we have to do. Okay, now I graph it. So I find negative 6 on the number line. I know it is going to be a closed dot because it has this line underneath my inequality sign. So I find negative 6 on the number line. I draw my dot, and then I need to make my arrow. If I was to extend this, you could see that the arrow would point to the left, right? So I'm just going to draw my arrow to the left, and that is the graph for x is less than or equal to negative 6. Okay, so these notes are double-sided. So let's go ahead and flip the page over. We have a few more equations to solve. Okay, so it says try these. We're going to solve and graph. All right, so we have x minus 4 is less than or equal to 2. So I'm going to draw my line straight down. I know I need to get that negative 4 to the other side of that inequality sign. So I need to do the opposite. The opposite of a negative 4 would be a positive 4. So I'm going to add 4 on both sides. So these cancel out. I'm left with x. I'm going to bring down my inequality sign is less than or equal to, and 2 plus 4 is 6. So I'm going to find 6 on my number line. I know I'm going to have a closed dot because my inequality sign has this line underneath it. So it's a closed dot above 6. And then if I were to draw a tail off this sign, I'll draw a little light one, you would see that it is pointing to the left. So my arrow needs to point to the left. Okay, that is the graph for x is less than or equal to 6. Now let's try number 2. And do number 2 now. It says solve and graph again. So my first step is always to draw my line straight down. I have x minus 5 equals negative, or x minus 5 is greater than negative 3. So I need to move this negative 5 to the other side of the inequality sign. So I need to do the opposite. The opposite of a negative 5 would be a positive 5. So I'm going to add 5 on both sides of the inequality sign. Negative 5 plus 5 is 0. So I'm left with x is greater than negative 3 plus 5 is 2. All right, so then I find 2. And look, I do not have a line underneath my inequality sign right now. So it is an open dot above 2. That's what an open dot looks like. If I were to draw a tail off of my inequality sign, I would see which my arrow needs to go. Needs to go to the right. Okay. So this is the graph for x is greater than 2. Notice that it is an open dot above 2 because it does not have a line underneath here. Okay. All right. Now we're on to number 3. It says solve and graph. All right, so we will do numbers 3 and 4 in the third video for lesson 3.2.